Hello guys, welcome back to the third video of the series Who's Worth Investing Into. Now for today's video, for the 6-star lineup, it's a little bit different. 5 and 4 and 3 stars were actually genuinely either like good or bad or like right, meh, and not worth investing into. But today for the 6-star lineup, I am genuinely, like, I'm not capping. They're all good, and you should invest into whatever you want, whatever you like, because they're good enough to be played regardless of what I'm about to say in this video, right? So don't get mad too much when I say so that some of the characters are less prioritized than others. And let's approach this video in a little different way, a different approach, let's say. Because let's approach it. It's not if it's worth or not. Let's do it if it's like, if you have all of the characters, which one you would want to prioritize first into building. Like which one, you have a bunch of resources and you can only build one, right? Between A and B, which one would you prioritize first and why, right? Let's do it like that instead of is X worth investing into, or it's just bad and you don't like it, no, right? You're not gonna do that. First, because that's not how the game works, you can just play the game with any of the characters that you're seeing here and you would do amazing regardless. And it's not just a blanket statement, it's actually the truth. All of the feedback from CN, all of the testing, all of the CBT feedback showed that you can do well with every character. Now, you're not gonna maybe one-shot Limbo in like 2 turns. No. But does that matter? As long as you clear it, who do you care? You don't. I know that you don't. I don't. You don't either. So there's a very small percentage of you that care. And then in that case, you can still understand, read between the lines of what am I going to say in this video, and maybe extract what you need to know from the video, right? And probably if you do that as well, you're probably a whale. So if you want to do like 2-cycle, 3-cycle Limbo or something like some crazy shit like that. So yeah, let's get into it. A Knight. I'm gonna skip 37 and 6 because they're they're brand new. They came out like 3 days ago. So I'm not gonna touch on them because one, I haven't gotten them. I don't know what I know what they do, but I don't know how they play and like what's the gameplay, like the stats and stuff. The stats. So I'm not gonna touch on them. Let's go with the from 1.0 to 1.3 because until 1.3 I know. Now let's start with A Knight. A Knight is one of the units that you would not prioritize first when it comes to like a dilemma. Like, oh, I have a DPS. Should I build Lilya or A Knight? In that case, you build Lilya. So A Knight is not a top priority DPS, and let's go check exactly why. Now, A Knight is really good, and it's gonna be one of the flex units that you can use wherever. So if you happen to pick him up, or you're pulling for Beacon Bloom on his banner for Beacon Bloom, and you happen to get him, let's say you get very lucky, get him in temples, right? In that case, he's usable, perfectly usable, as I said before. I'm not gonna repeat myself too many times in that matter. And let's check what he does. It's really good because it's the only character that can boost the damage bonus of your allies by 50% every time it does the ult, because he inflicts one stack of rousing morale on all allies, right? So it's one big bonus, and then he has Moxie plus on himself on Justice, which is basically damage, and then there's another Moxie plus on Glory. So the insight is basically for every HP that is that the target has lost, it deals more damage, and then damage taken -8. The insight to do is always underwhelming. I don't know why. I mean, it makes sense, but shit. And It also does a penetration. So inside 3 is not that crazy. That's a little bit of a downside. But the character is very powerful by himself. Ideally, you want to build a team, and when it comes to investment, ideally you want. I'll maybe make a video about this, but you want to put your main DPS inside 3, and level him up to inside 3, and then your healer and support slash DPS and inside 2 and max level, because like every inside has a max level. I believe inside 2 is 550 and inside 1 is 40, something like that. It doesn't really matter which number it is, because like we're talking about maxing. So yeah, A Knight is okay, but it's probably not a good priority, the top priority, but it's a really good unit anyway, and it basically spams ult, because everything you do, as long as it is level 2 up, you get +1 Moxie, so it's going to be really way easier to build his ult. His ult is just mega damage plus the buff, right? Anon Lee is one of the characters that I like the most about the game. Because there's multiple. And she is extremely powerful, and she's not a main DPS, but she does enough DPS and supports and buffs and gives gives defensive stuff, defensive buffs on from inside 1 onward, and also inflicts a daze and empowers her incantations, right? So it would be way easier to get daze, for example, or to get higher stats on your spells by doing the empower incantation. So and it lasts for 2 rounds. So having Anon Lee in your team, it's really good, and she's somewhat of a flex unit, because you can put her in many teams as a buffer DPS, and she's gonna work great. Plus, she looks cool. Ghostbuster is always cool. The theme, I always love the theme. Her ult animation is cracked. It's really cool, and it's all around a really good buffer unit. It's really good. If you don't want, let's say, if you don't have other supports like Voyager, for example, we're talking about only 6 stars. So I'm not going to talk about Sonetto and stuff like that. Or if you don't have Shamane, I mean, if you have Shamane, then maybe you can push Shamane, but you can still use Anon Lee. It doesn't matter. And mono team, of course, you use her, right? Or Beacon Bloom, but we're talking about 6 stars. So Anon Lee, really good, worth prioritizing over others. If you have Shamane, maybe I would do Shamane first, but we're right there. We're right there. It depends on your team as well. Depends on who you have. We'll talk about that in more detail in just a second when I get to Sotheby, or NewBabel. So yeah, really worth, because Anon Lee is a big buffer, really good unit, a lot of positive income from her. You can put her almost everywhere. She just works. She just works, because her things are global, let's say, universal. Now, Black Dwarf. Black Dwarf is a little bit of a if, for the sole reason that if you have Eternity, this is a little it will get a little complicated, so keep up with me. If you get Eternity, then in theory you don't need Black Dwarf. If you want Black Dwarf because you like how she looks, how she performs, you like her skills, you like her mechanics that revolves around switching planets and choosing the incantation according to what you want to do. Do you want to heal? Do you want to do DPS? Do you want to get something else? You prioritize different incantation depending on the situation. So she's super situational in the sense that, like, on the spur of the moment, you need to decide what to do and how to progress. Now, you can go to the Pridwin. I'll link it in the description. You can go to the Pridwin and read this. I'm not going to read it out loud. We're doing an all character review of Worth. So we're not going to fucking read every single character's kit, but that's what she does. And if you have Black Dwarf as a support, you kind of want to get Pickle. I mean, you can get whatever you want that is not a 6-star, but if you are a spending guy or a whale, or you happen to get them both because maybe you got Pickles and then you save for Black Dwarf, then you want to pair Black Dwarf with Pickles, because Pickles has the passive here that you keep triggering, especially on Insight 1 and Insight 3. You keep getting clarification of proposition over and over and over and over and over and over, and you also get Moxie on I1 while this triggers. And if you do the clarification proposition, when it triggers, you get next normal skill or ultimate is in the enhanced. So you're gonna get a lot of value from Pickles because it is very AP generous, let's say. It's AP generous because you don't have to act every turn, and Black Dwarf is a character who wants to act all the time. So you can support with Pickle and boost everything that he does, plus dispel, because I believe Pickle dispels. Yeah, dispels on this one, Judgment of the Ball. Mental damage on 2 enemies, dispel stats up, status pause, and counter, and if clarification is up, he also gets 25 penetration. But yeah, Pickle can just be a main DPS, by the way. I feel like it could. But let's go over that. Let's finish talking about Black Dwarf. So Black Dwarf doesn't need. Black Dwarf, if you get Black Dwarf, then you didn't get Eternity, right? Because you're saving for Black Dwarf. So if you get Black Dwarf, then maybe you want to pick up Pickles, because Pickles really shines with her, because having Pickles not act for one turn, or every other turn, and empowering, it's gonna deal a lot of damage overall, right? But you can also use Voyager if you want. You can use Anna and Lee. It's not ideal, but you can do everything. We're just saying, like, it's a little more nuanced when it comes to Black Dwarf, because if you want to maximize, then maybe Pickle is a good idea, but if you didn't pick up Pickle, then that's a problem. Because I believe Pickle is going to go into Standard after 3 patches. The 6-star gets introduced into Standard. So Pickle is in Standard in 1.4 in China. Now Pickle is in Standard, as well as Melania. So you can get them randomly on the standard pool, but it's not deterministic. There's no way to determine determine Pickle coming out. So I think you have to roll for him if you want, of course. Now Pickle can just act on his own, so you can use him as a DPS until you get Black Dwarf, and then use Black Dwarf and put Pickles on the support side, which is not insane support because it deals a lot of damage. But if you don't need much support, and if you have a strong healer like Medicine Pocket, let's say, then it's a good idea, right? So let's move on. Centurion, yes. There's nothing against Centurion, yes. Whatever you're thinking, what's your question? Yes. Yes. So Centurion is an Omega DPS. She also heals herself at I3. So you want to rush her. If you get Centurion, just rush I3. I don't give a fuck. Just rush I3. The moment you can, just use every sharp odonti, every tome, every fucking skeleton, whatever this is. Put them inside 3 as soon as possible. You have no idea if you don't know about Centurion already. Actually, I was actually thinking about re-rolling on Standard instead of beginner banner, just to try and get Centurion randomly from Standard, which is a little bit of a impossible dream considering the pool of Standard characters. Might as well just wait for the raid up, right? But Centurion is a it's an extremely powerful unit. She also provides a little bit of weakness where on the ult, damage bonus minus 25 on all enemies, which is not to be neglected. Which that's like 75 or 100% less damage taken overall from the enemy, and it's global. It's not just mental or reality. It's global. Damage bonus minus 25. It's 1 stack, but the good part is that for every Moxie owned, she deals 6% more damage. Critical rate plus 10, The Insight 2, her Insight 2 is actually a pretty good Insight 2. Usually the Insight 2 are kind of underwhelming. It's like, oh, 8% more damage. No, it's way better. When the caster loses Moxie, HP plus max HP, 20% of the max HP you heal up. Every time you lose Moxie, which I believe there's nothing else said here. So technically, it should work if you do the ult. Do you heal for 100%? No, 100%. Like 5 times 20%, which is not the same. So if you have... Wait, no, is it the same? I think it's the same. Loses Moxie, but does it apply on every Moxie? I need to check that. I don't know. It's actually a question that I want to ask. I'll ask on the Pridwen Discord if they know. When a caster loses Moxie, HP plus... I want... Maybe, if that... No, there's no way it works. It would be stupid. Maybe it just only counts as 1 if you do the ult. Maybe it only counts as 1. Maybe, I don't know. But yeah, yes, she's worth investing into. Yes. Prioritize. Yes. Whatever you have, if you have another DPS, let's say you have Eternity, and then you get Centurion. If you're playing with Eternity, if she's built, let's say, and Centurion isn't built too much, let's say, and you're fighting against a monster that is not weak against Mineral, do you want to build Centurion and put it? Yes. Yes. If you have the options, yes. If you have at least a team ready and Centurion would be like an extra, then yes. But the only way would be like if you have Eternity, let's say Eternity, Lilya, any other DPS, even Melania. If you have maybe if you have Melania, no. I mean, if you have Melania, it's implied that you like Melania more than Centurion, I would say. In that case, no. But it's just, that's a personal moment. A personal moment of a player, so that's not really reliable, right? Otherwise, Centurion over Melania, yes. In my opinion, yes. That's my opinion. But yeah, Melania is good, but it's not as good as Centurion. Melania has a lot to do with Moxie stealing, Moxie gaining, Moxie reducing, Moxie here, Moxie there. So she's really Moxie juggling unit, and she has like a stealth skill thief, something like that. That's called. That's a passive that you constantly trigger by doing the ult, I believe. We can check in a second, but she's good. She's good, but it's not Centurion. She's not Centurion. I'm sorry, but Centurion is better than Melania. All right. You can get mad all you want in the comments. That's how it is. I think Centurion is better than Melania by a lot. I wouldn't pick up Melania if I had Centurion. I wouldn't roll on her banner if I just get Centurion on standard, right? It is what it is, guys. You have to accept it. Now, let's move into... let's move into the big boy, one of the big boys units, like Centurion, Changeling. Now, I'm actually thinking about re-rolling on the beginner. Get like, I don't know, Eternity or Lilya, probably Eternity, and then I will explain why Eternity and not Lilya, even though I like Lilya a little bit more than Eternity. I don't know, she's fun to look at. She's cute and she has like little ears, and she does mega damage. But Changeling is the carry of the poison team. You need Changeling if you want to play poison team. If you don't have Changeling, then you do not play poison team. Even if you have Kanjira, which is a 5-star, she's not as good. She's not as any way as good as Changeling. Changeling is a fucking powerhouse of poison and damage and poison and poison and poison and poison. She had, oh, by the way, poison caps at 3 stacks, so you don't need 3 poison appliers. And we'll get there in a second. So Changeling is an extremely powerful unit. She applies a ton of poison to everybody continuously. Poison deals Genesis damage, by the way, so it transcends reality or mental damage, even though she does reality damage. So if you fight against a reality weak guy, she performs even better. Of course, she applies a ton of poison, and if they are debuffed here on Visit from Friends, which they are, because I believe poison is a negative status, right? She does extra damage as well, even on level 1. She applies a lot of poison, stuff like that. Now, she also passively applies poison if the enemy doesn't have poison state. Especially on Insight 3, after attacking an enemy that is not under the poison state, inflicts poison on it for 2 rounds. When attacking an enemy under the poison state, the damage dealt is increased by 20%. After entering combat, at the start of every round, every third round, 1, 3, 6, 9, etc., inflicts poison on all enemies for 2 rounds. What the fuck? Okay. Now, the I2 is underwhelming as usual, but that's normal. But yeah, so Changeling, yes. Yes. So, if you want to do this, the poison team, you don't need 3 characters applying poison. You need Changeling to keep the 3 stacks up all the time, the 100% uptime, I believe. You need Changeling and Sotheby. Sotheby is coming on 1.0 special banner. So, event banner, limited banner, whatever you want to call it. So, the thing is actually that you just need Changeling and Sotheby to work for the poison team to work, which is something I want to do. It's really fun. So what I'm gonna do, I think, so what you can do is Changeling, any support, Sotheby. If you have Annalie, good. Beacon Bloom, good. Any other team, any other character, you can even use Sonetto. Any other Voyager, whatever you want. As long as you have Changeling or Sotheby, you have the poison team down. So Changeling, yes, it's just prioritized if you, I mean, let's see, prioritized if you have Sotheby. She's I guess a must pull. Otherwise, why would you pull for Sotheby? You could just play, unless you like her. If you pull for Sotheby because of gameplay reasons, because of or theme reasons, then you need to pick up Changeling as well. It's a must pull at that point and a must build. If you end up randomly with Sotheby, but why? You didn't, I don't know. Like if you skip Sotheby, then you don't need to build or use Changeling. If you happen to randomly get Changeling by doing a random pull, then rip. Because like, I mean, you can use her, but she's not going to do 100% application. And if you have another DPS build, maybe you have Centurion, maybe you have, let's see, Centurion, maybe you have Black Dwarf, maybe you have Eternity, maybe you have Lilya built. For built, I mean I3. Then maybe Changeling is not a top priority, but when you can still build her like with time. And once she's finally built, maybe you can use her here and there when there is an enemy team that it's weak to plant. But yeah, the Druvis. We talked about Druvis. She's okay. She's good. You can build her if you want. If you like Druvis and if you want constant petrification, that's a plus that you might want to have in your team. That's a cool debuff. So yeah, you can do that. She's good. She's not bad. She's good. But instead of, maybe not. Instead of. There's no other DPS that I would build her instead of. That's why. Eternity. Eternity is a really good DPS. She doesn't do as much as Lilya as DPS, but she has insane survivability, especially on I3. Because on I3 she gets a new blood, I believe. What is it called again? Blood of Immortality as 5 stacks that increases the damage dealt and heal, but even more. Blood of Immortality is damage bonus plus 25, damage heal plus 25. Why damage heal? Because if you don't know what she does, on the ult, she has 50% leech rate, right? I mean, Nasty Wound applies on the Pulse of Vigor. I honestly don't think this is too much of a plus. I don't think that's much. And this is just a big AoE. Wait, yeah, a big AoE. And every time you do the AoE and all the other skill, she loses 10% of HP. So that's a problem. So you need to babysit her a little bit. Any healer, any supporter, any shielder will do the job. You don't have to babysit her that much. I've used her on the Chinese without any support because I didn't know about them yet when I started, because I started with Eternity. So she wasn't dying all the time either, because she even though you get low, you do the ult and you get back the HP. So damage dealt plus 8, the classic mediocre lukewarm inside 2, and then you get immunity to a lot of stats down, like poison, bleed, corrode, negative statuses. And then every turn you get 1 stack of blood of longevity, which increases the leech and stuff like that. So you get her maximum power after 5 turns. So at 5 turns you get the maximum power of damage and leech. So that's one you want to reach. So you want to be alive until then, and then she performs really good after that. So she might be less immediate, less instant when it comes to damage than, let's say, Lilya or Regulus or Melania or Centurion or Black Dwarf, but she has a lot of survivability. So she might be. I fucking, what the fuck? Jesus Christ! It was a hair in my. Am I balding, Monka? So yeah, Eternity is really, 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 really good. Yes. Prioritized? Probably not. But if you go Eternity, you got her from the beginner. If you got her from the beginner, then she's your first and main DPS. In that case, fuck yeah. Otherwise, if you have every other character, then no. You can, yes, just only for a direct counter to Beast. So a direct counter to Beast, then you build Eternity. Otherwise, if you have Black Dwarf, no. If you have Lilya, and let's say you don't need to counter a Beast. If you have Lilya, no. If you have Regulus, maybe. Depends on how you like playing the game. They're a little bit different from each other. Regulus, it's an AP generous unit. She doesn't want to attack all the time because you want to get use of the her crit rate passive. So yeah, at that point it's up to you. But it's right there. It's right there to the point where it doesn't matter. So you do whatever you want. It's like a yes or a no, depending on if you have Regulus or not. But how do you have Regulus? What happened? You don't have. Can you even have Regulus and Eternity on day 1? I don't think so. I don't think you can get all of them, because they're not. Are they? Maybe you can get one from the standard and one from the beginner. I mean, there's a universe. There's a timeline when you can do that, but I don't know. Lilya, mega DPS end game, okay DPS in early game, mainly because she needs to crit, and if she doesn't crit, and if you don't have units that enable the crit, then it's a little bit of a if, but I would build her anyway. I will build her anyway, because if you have Lilya on day 1, it means that you roll for her, and if you roll for her, then you need to build her as soon as possible to reach that I3. Because the I3, I closed it without reading it. The I3 is basically telling you, yo, why the hell does she not have a crit Psycube equipped? What are you doing, right? She is doing that. So Psycube basic critical rate bonus plus 100%. You want to pick up a Psycube that has a really high critical rate bonus, and this I3 would double it. In plus, you get critical rate when you use the ultimate on Insight 1 plus 20% plus a global 10%. And at that point, you want to pair her with units that increase the critical rate or reduce the critical rate. For example, Tooth Fairy. We're gonna get to the monster unit in just a second. So Lilya is a worth investment, worth prioritizing? I would say so, because of her Omega damage end game, especially end game. I would probably prioritize Lilya over, if we don't need to counter anything. I would prioritize Lilya over Eternity. I would prioritize Lilya over Regulus. I would prioritize Lilya over Melania, and that's it. And Druvis, of course. Changeling, probably not if you have Sotheby. If you're doing the poison team, they're probably on the same boat. They're probably on the same mega tier, right? So Lilya, Yes. Medicine pocket. It's another Centurion situation. What do you mean by that? Is it because they're beasts? No. It's because whatever question you have about medicine pocket is yes. The question, the answer is yes. Worth build, yes. Better than yes. Now the only team where you don't use medicine pocket over anyone else is because is Sotheby on the poison team. Otherwise, Sotheby doesn't have instant healing, and she doesn't really debuff the enemy besides the poison, unless I have a mental illness and I forgot. Yeah, no, she doesn't. Okay, yeah. She applies poison stack on the enemy and cure stack on the team. But to get the cure from Sotheby, you need to survive survive the round. So the next round you can get healed. So that's a little bit of a problem, and that's why you see the trash, quote unquote trash ratings on her. First of all, she really shines on poison team, so that's situational team. Situational healer. No, it means I didn't mean to say that. I meant to say it's a healer that has a situation where she shines more than normal, because she's probably going to do good even outside the poison team, but compared to she's worse because she's made to cater towards the poison. So if you're not stacking poison constantly, then her stacking one poison here, one poison there, one poison here, one poison there, it's irrelevant. Plus the cure means that you can't have squishy characters too much. You need to build the other characters that are going with her really strong, so they don't die immediately and they can get the cure off later. So yeah, so Sotheby, so medicine. Let's go back to medicine pocket. Medicine pocket is a very strong unit. They do a lot of healing, pure healing, and then they have a debuff that basically makes it so. Let's say damage taken is plus 20, global damage taken. So you can use them with any comp. It's another flex character in my opinion. Any comp. For plot good debuffs, good healing, and then they have a daze as well. Like imagine that they have a daze in Moxie 1 for the caster. They have a daze on the ult. You do the ult, inflicts daze on the target for 1 round. That's crazy. And it's not even like dispellable daze. It's just daze. If it was not nightmare, let's say, like if that makes it so if you hit it wears off. It's just a daze, so they're fucked for 1 turn. That character is not attacking. It's not doing anything. So medicine pocket, huge value. If you get them, there are some people that are gonna re-roll on the standard on release just to get medicine pocket. So that's how good the situation is for medicine pocket. Melania, as I said before, I'm gonna touch on it briefly. She has a lot of Moxie plus, Moxie minus, Moxie steal here and there. She has a little bit of leech on some of her skills. She also gets Moxie -1 on the enemy when she hits with exploitation. If she has a skillful thief, she also does -1 and you steal 1, right? From level 2 onwards. And the skill thief is from the ult. So you do the ult, gain one layer of skillful thief. So ideally, you're probably going to be able to keep this when maybe not up to all the time. Melania next spell is enhanced, so it's going to be easier to get these tier 2+. So you want to use a lot of cards, you want to use a lot of ults. So she's not IP generous, so you need to cater to her with other supports that are IP generous, right? So Melania, good, but not as good as other DPSs, so I wouldn't prioritize her over Centurion. I wouldn't prioritize her over Lilya. Maybe over surely over Druvis, yes. Over Eternity, probably not. Depends. Over Changeling, of course not, if Poison Team. So yeah, Melania is a good unit. She's not as good as Centurion. But she's a good unit anyway. So if you like Melania, go for it. Mega worth. NewBabel. NewBabel is probably the only unit that is not doing that great. Sadly, she's a defender. She doesn't heal though. She taunts and she has big defense on herself. She self counter. She has counter, enters taunt and fanged partner. Taunt makes it so enemies attack will target character with taunt. She's not bad, but she gives shield. Reality defense times 150% for 2 rounds with every everyone in your team. She has an attack, and if she has a shield, a moxie +1 to the caster, which you kind of want to do because you want to keep the taunt up. Otherwise, you're not gonna save your team if you're not taunting, right? So you want to taunt all the time. So how can you do that? How are you gonna do that? It's a little bit of a problem keeping that up. And when it's not up, how are you supporting your team if it's not up? They're gonna just attack anybody. The shield is there, but are you spamming the shield constantly? You kind of like removing the incantations from the damage dealer, right? So you don't want to heal too much. You don't want to shield too much with the support, pure support defenders, right? So in this one, you want to use a lot of stuff and guarding instinct, reality death, loyal partner, enters loyal partners after gaining a total of 15 guard. Oh, when it's you need to keep the taunt up, otherwise everything falls off. Visionary falls off. Inside 1 falls off. Inside 3 falls off. The reality death falls off if you don't get attacked. So you need to get the ult up all the time. Can you? That's the question. You can help yourself by doing this, but it's level 2, which means that you're moving the card, combining the card, using the card. That's like 2 actions. So 2 action to do a shield. No, to do an attack that gives you +1, so you can get maybe faster on the taunt. You're just playing Babel at that point, right? That's the problem with this character. But she works. You can use her. It's not like you can't. But you need to keep that in mind. So if your fight is taking 2 years, you know why. Oh, okay. Now, that's Sotheby. We know about Sotheby. Pickle. Pickle the dog. Your best friend. Yeah, Pickle good. Pickle good. You can use him as a main DPS until you get Black Dwarf, and that's switch with Black Dwarf and use Pickle as a support, right? Mainly for the damage dealt to all allies by 30% for 2 rounds. Clarification and proposition that enables the extra stuff for him and extra penetration. Also dispels counters and stuff like that. Status pause, status up, counter. Also, if you have clarification and proposition, you get +1 moxie every time it's triggered. So every time you do like one of these, right? They're powered up. So you use it and it's gonna do 1 stack and you get 1 moxie. Boom. Upon entering combat, immediately gain 2 layers of clarification of proposition, making inside 3 really good. So worth investing? Yes, of course. Pickle next. Yeah, I don't think there's anything else crazy to say about Pickle. It's really just really good. He's a good boy. Now, Regulus. Regulus is a really good option on the standard banner. She's a pure DPS. She removes Moxie when she crits. And you might say, what do you mean why she crits? So she's a crit dependent, yes, but there is a but. If you get I1, does the ult? No. If you get I1, so you want to get as soon as possible I1 and of course I3. If the caster has not acted in a round, enters Restless Heart status at the end of the round. Restless Heart is critical rate plus 50%. Excess critical rate is converted into critical damage. Cancels after scoring a critical, which triggers the I3 when you have it. There's not even an if. If you're playing Regulus, then you are getting I3. And at that point, when you crit, you also get Moxie +1. So that's even faster ult build up. It's a lower mental damage percentage to all enemies, but she inflicts Riot and Roll on all allies, which is a stealth dodge. Dodges any non-ultimate attack. Dispels the effect after the caster takes action, which means that the next turn, or if you have a counter up, I don't know if the counter counts. Wait, I have another crazy question. How do I get this question pops up? They're crazy. My questions are insane. I need to type them down. My question is, if you have Riot and Roll on a character that gets a counter application from, let's say, Balloon Party, you get hit. Is the counter counted as an action? I don't think so. So you should be fine. You're probably untouchable besides the ultimates for one round after you do the ult with Regulus, which is really good. If that's the case. If that's not the case, it's still good, but you basically just gonna dodge one attack instead of everything in that turn, besides the ultimate. So yeah, pretty good. Moxie -2, sheesh, okay? So Regulus worth investing. If you're asking this and you're watching this video on 1.0 before release, then yes, because you picked up Regulus on purpose. So yes, she's worth using, and she also AP generous because she doesn't have to attack every time. So you can put other more intensive AP characters on her team as well. So Regulus, yes, worth. Shamane. Now we're getting into, besides Sotheby, we're getting into the big boys. I mean, I wanna keep Shamane and Tooth Fairy at the end. Let's talk about. We talk about Sotheby. Sotheby is really good, but she has fake trash ratings on Pridwen. Not because she's bad, but because like it's a little more nuanced. When you get healed, you need to wait the turn to get healed. It's not instant. So if you are dying and you get the heal up, you don't get the heal up. You just get the a delayed heal. So if you can't panic heal with Sotheby, you need to be, you need to be in a situation where you need to pre-heal because you know you're gonna get damaged. So when you get damaged, as you predicted, then the next turn you get healed. You need to think like that. So Sotheby is worth, but it's a little bit. Be careful. It's worth if you are planning on getting Changeling. Otherwise, you shouldn't even pick up Sotheby. But if you ended up with her randomly by doing like a temple, let's say, oh, I want to do a temple to get like the Charlie or X, right? You're trying to get Charlie to P3. Then maybe yes. But keep that in mind, right? It depends. It depends. Voyager. Voyager is a really good unit. Holy shit. She's the goddess of CC. She's the goddess of debuffs and CC. Holy shit. Look at this. Wait, look at this, and then you can lose your mind at the bottom. Now, one target attack deals 500% mental damage, inflicts Moxie -2. If the target is in confusion status, these attacks deal 100% more mental damage, which is not double, it's just 100% more. Critical resist, -25. Confusion, keep that in mind. Debuff, on Stellar Symphony level 2. Debuff, mass attack, deals 150% mental damage to 2 enemies and inflicts 1 stack of confusion for 1 round. So that's boom. Use critical rate -25. Boom. Lilya, hello. Lilya, come here. This juice here. Yeah. And then there is a goddamn counter. I'm gonna stress as much as possible. I'm gonna stress this out. You do not understand how powerful the counter is. The counter is extremely powerful, especially on bosses or units that do a mega AoE. Especially if you, like this, or Balloon Party, if you give the counter to everybody. So if they do an AoE and they hit everybody with the AoE or 2, they're gonna get hit twice from the counter. And it doesn't have a countdown. So if you get hit twice again on the same character, you still have the counter on. So you're gonna get another damage twice on the enemy. If let's say he's doing 2 mass attacks, the first mass attacks gets back 2 instances of damage. It does his second skill, another mass attack. It hits 2 of your characters, 2 counter, boom, in his face. 4 fucking attacks for free. So counter is massive. I love counter in this game. And Balloon Party applies a mass counter on her ult, so it takes a while before you get it on. Voyager has it on the fucking skill. So, and it's not even 2, it's level 1. So, gives all allies 1 stack. On top of that, gives all allies 1 stack of Interstellar Blessing and Sturdiness. So, more defense stuff. And Interstellar Blessing deals Genesis damage to the attacker. So, that's... yeah, you deal more damage with the counter in Genesis form, which I believe it's every counter. I don't know what damage the counter is actually, so be careful. I don't know what damage the counter is. It might just be Genesis, and you just get extra Genesis damage, scaling with Voyager's attack, which is a value that it's usually decently high, even though she's not a main DPS. Just the Psi Cube and inciting the character is gonna give you like 800 and 900 on i3, right? So that's like 1,000 more Genesis damage, boom, for free from the counter, which stacks a lot. Take my word for it, it stacks insanely. So there's so many fucking good characters in this game. I can't even tell. I can't even. After performing 3 action, enters Chorus Ensemble. This is the biggest part. Chorus Ensemble. I1. If there are enemies after the caster takes action, inflicts 1 round of silence on all enemies. Silence means they cannot use buff, debuff, heal, or counter. Seal joins the buff pool after you get I3. Enhanced Chorus Ensemble effect. If there are enemies after the caster takes action, so if they didn't die, also even if there's 1 left, inflicts 1 round of seal on all enemies on top of the fucking silence. So they can do shit. They're just there. They get blasted. You can act. I want to do the ultimate. You can do the ultimate seal if it's I3. They do that all the time, right? So Voyager, Omega worth. Voyager, just dump everything on Voyager. Boom. Shamane, Omega debuffer. If one of the best, if not the best debuffer of the game. 1.3. 1.2 or 1.3 is going to be fucking cracked. So keep, yeah. I can't even speak anymore. Mass attack deals 20%, 250% reality damage to all enemies. Crit rate on the primary target is increased by 20%, and excess crit rate is converted into crit damage. Also inflicts additional 20% reality damage on said target. Now, Nature Blessing is where it's at. And also the debuffs. Global debuffer, global. Damage taken by all enemies by 10, 20, 30%. Reduces their reality and mental defense by 15%. So you can put him everywhere. It's a mega flex. You can put it everywhere. It's always going to do its job. Boom, reality damage, and inflicts nature blessing on this. And nature blessing is the caster, after the caster uses their ultimate, consumes all stack of this nature blessing, is stacks, to restore an amount of moxie equal to the number of stacks consumed up to 5, up to full ult again. So is the only unit in the game so far that has the chance of getting an ult back to back. Because what you can do is also, as I1 and I3 makes it even easier, for every stats down status on the target when attacking, which they do have, and they have 2, because it's going to be damage taken on enemies plus 10, and another stack, which is a separate debuff, reality and mental defense by 15%. So 2. And for every stats down status on the target when attacking, damage dealt is increased up to max of 24. Upon entering combat, gain 2 stacks of Nature Blessing. So when you start the combat, you get 2 stacks of Nature Blessing. So you just have to do this attack 3 times and then do the ult, which is basically the exact same amount, almost. Yeah, but if you debuffed, which you won't, then you need to do maybe 3 attacks. So in 3 turns, you have the ult up, and when you do the ult, and you get back 5 Moxie immediately because you had 5 stacks on Natural Blessing. It's gonna be even faster if you get I3. At the start of every 2 turns, you get 1 stack of Natural Blessing. So it becomes a becomes time, like a timing. Like you do your cards, and after 2 turns, you get the last stack of Natural Blessing, you do the ult, and then you get it back again. So yes, mega worth, yes. Worth prioritizing over, yes, definitely. But is Shamane worth prioritizing over Voyager? Ooh. No, probably not. Or probably yes. Depends on that situation, sadly. If you have Voyager and Shamane, you want, I don't know. I don't care if you're free to play. Just take 2 weeks of farming, but max them all, because like there's no better unit. It depends on what you want to do. Because Shamane has a constant debuff, while Voyager is more a CC silencer. She doesn't apply a debuff, which makes the enemy take more damage. She applies counter and sturdiness and confusion and silence, seal. She's a different type of support. That's why you can't really do that comparison, right? It's worth, no, it's not worth. You just have to build them all and then use them depending on what you want to do. If you don't have Voyager, then you get Shamane instead, of course. But if you have Voyager, then do you pull for Shamane if you're free to play? Voyager is coming on 1.1 as a rate up. She's in the standard, so you can maybe roll on standard for her. I don't know. Maybe if you have enough pools as free to play, maybe you can get both. No, as free to play is a bit of a problem. So probably you're not gonna get Voyager. You're gonna get one or. You're probably not gonna get 2 unless you get super lucky as free to play. Now let's get to the ultimate being, which is Tooth Fairy. The last character that we're gonna talk today. I have talked for too long. Sorry for the long video, but there is a lot to say about this game, and I can't help it. I'm sorry. Maybe I'll do a juicy timestamp in description. But I spoke about characters in confused ways, and like merged together, because that's what it is, sadly. Now, 1 target attack, 500% of its attack. Okay. So Tooth Fairy is extremely powerful as a healer. She also applies confusion, which is the same debuff that Voyager applies, which is critical resist minus 25. She applies it on the first debuff, even level 1, so she's a perfect match for Lilya. And yeah, once I go, okay. Then she has mass heal, heals all allies for caster attack, which is a good start to scale of HP. This healing enjoys 30% crit rate, so her heal can crit. Also, if you debuffed before, if for some reason they end up being debuffed, then it's way easier to crit, right? Because they have minus 25, so this is 55% critical rate just from that. Now, this is where we get to the juicy part. The Insight 1 and Insight 3. She gets extremely powerful in the Insight 1. Insight 1 makes it so she stacks Baby Tooth. On the Baby Tooth, she gets 3 immediately. And when any ally actively casts a skill, so it doesn't work with counter, I believe, gain 1 Baby Tooth. When you get 5, you use them all and reduce 15% of the critical resist of rate and crit defense for all enemy. Lasts for 1 round. So you deal 15% more critical damage, and they have basically you have a 15% more critical rate, right? Cannot be triggered if there's not enough stacks of Baby Tooth. Okay. Yes. And on I3, when the I3 is the big one. When stat debuff effect of Baby Tooth is triggered, heals all allies for 10% of HP lost. Like global, general. Upon entering battle, gain 2 additional Baby Tooth. So when you start with 5 Baby Tooth, and you start the 5 with minus 15 crit resist immediately. And then you start building again. But Tooth Fairy is the only unit that I'm gonna say, regardless of my or your opinion, Tooth Fairy is a must pull. She's too strong to pass as a healer. I would just wait for Tooth Fairy and then pull Tooth Fairy and not get any healer until Tooth Fairy, to be honest. She's just very, very strong. Sadly for your wallet or your pulls, she's extremely powerful. She's probably the best healer in the game. She without the probably, she is the best healer in the game, especially at I3. She gets like a crazy amount of healing plus other stuff. That's the part that makes her better. Now, is she better than Medicine Pocket? Yes, for certain teams. No, for other teams. If you're playing Lilya, then yes, of course. If you're playing any crit reliant character, then yes, of course. Otherwise, maybe you want Medicine Pocket instead. Depends a little bit. She has big healing. Let's check Medicine Pocket numbers here. Caster attack 80, 120, 200, and Tooth Fairy is 80, 120, 200, but she can crit. So she can potentially do more healing, and the crit rate only increases because this is base, plus minus 25 is 55, plus minus 15, which is plus 15, so it's a 70% crit rate. That's pretty cracked. Plus, when every time you consume 5 baby tooth, which is very, very fast, very, very common, like very often, everybody heals for 10% HP lost immediately. It doesn't even count as like, oh, well, next turn, this turn. So yeah, must pull. And there you have it. All of the character. I'm not going to touch on 37 and 6 because they're new. I'm not going to touch on them because I don't know them that well. So I'm not going to say anything. I heard that 37 is really good. And she's a potential replacement for Voyager. But not in the sense that you think. She's a sub DPS. She's more like Anna Lee in terms of damage than Voyager. So yeah, she's not like Anna Lee for the incantations and like the cycling. Not for that. I meant just for the damage. She has a lot of damage. She buffs as well. But yeah, that's it. Sorry for the omega long video. I couldn't help myself. I'm a logoroic person. I talk a lot, and I wanted to make it as personal as possible, as truthful as possible. Of course, most of this is my opinion and what I think about the units. You can do whatever you want with your waifu. Pick your Regulus and max it out immediately. Pick your Druvis, max it out immediately. I don't know. I don't care. Do whatever you want. At the end of the game is really balanced, and you don't need the copies anyway. So have fun. Go there and have fun. My voice is cracking, so if you like the video, leave a like. If you want to see more about this, subscribe. You're probably not even listening to this part. So if you made it here, comment Pickle is a good boy in the comments if you made it here. I doubt any of you will make it here because it's a very long video. I'm sorry again. I'm sorry. So yeah, thank you for watching and see you next time.